The film hadn't even been manufactured yet. 9 months after 19-year-old Tara Calico vanished on a quiet New Mexico highway, a woman pulled into a convenience store parking lot 1,500 miles away in Florida and found a photograph lying face down on the asphalt. She turned it over. A teenage girl and a young boy, both gagged, both bound, staring into the camera from the dark interior of a windowless van. Investigators ran the film stock through Polaroid's own labs. The verdict came back impossible to ignore. That particular film hadn't even existed when Tara disappeared. Someone had kept her alive for months after the whole country stopped looking. Her mother took one look at the photo and said the 4 words that would haunt this case for the next 4 decades. "That's my daughter." And somewhere out there, still unidentified, was a man in his 30s with a mustache driving a van who has never been found. Belen, New Mexico, sits in the high desert about 30 miles south of Albuquerque, the kind of small town built around a rail yard and a highway, where a 19-year-old college student could ride her bike down the same stretch of road every single morning and never think twice about it. Tara Calico did exactly that. September 20th, 1988, a Tuesday, bright and clear. She left her house around 9:30 for her usual 36-mile loop down State Road 47, riding her mother's neon pink Huffy mountain bike. She told her mother, half joking, to come looking for her if she wasn't home by noon. She had tennis plans with her boyfriend at 12:30. There was no reason to think that was anything but an ordinary morning. Her mother, Patty, had stopped riding with her a few weeks earlier, not because of anything specific, just an uneasy feeling that a car had been following them on a previous ride, slowing down, circling back. She'd told Tara to start carrying mace. Tara said no. She was headstrong, independent, and this was her route. She'd ridden it 100 times. Noon came. Tara didn't. Patty drove the length of State Road 47 herself, scanning the shoulder, the ditches, the open desert on either side. Nothing. No bike, no sign of a struggle, no witness who saw anything happen, though some who'd passed her earlier that morning would later say they remembered a light-colored pickup truck with a camper shell, moving slow, staying close behind her for longer than felt normal. By that afternoon, Patty had called the police. Tara Calico had vanished from a straight open road in broad daylight, and she left behind almost nothing. No bike, no body, no answer. For 9 months there was silence. Search parties came up empty. Leads went nowhere. And then, on June 15th, 1989, a woman in Port St. Joe, Florida, nearly 1,500 miles from Belen, pulled into a convenience store parking lot and noticed something lying on the ground near where a windowless white Toyota van had been parked minutes earlier. She picked it up. It was a Polaroid. A teenage girl and a young boy, both gagged with what looked like duct tape, both bound, sitting in the dim interior of a van on a mattress with light blue striped fabric behind them. The woman who found it remembered the van's driver, a man in his 30s with a mustache. By the time anyone thought to chase the vehicle down, it was gone. The photo made its way to investigators and then to the public, broadcast nationally on the television show A Current Affair that July. Friends of Patty's saw it and called her immediately. They thought the girl looked like Tara. Patty studied it and became certain that was her daughter's face. Investigators sent the film to Polaroid's own corporate labs to determine when it could have been produced. The answer complicated everything. That specific film stock hadn't been manufactured or sold until after May of 1989, meaning if the girl in the photo was Tara Calico, she had been alive and in captivity for at least 8 months after her disappearance, possibly longer. Then the case took an even darker turn. The family of a 9-year-old boy named Michael Henley, also from New Mexico, saw the broadcast and came forward, convinced the boy bound beside the girl in the photograph was their son. Michael had gone missing that same spring in April of 1988 while on a hunting trip with his father in the Zuni Mountains. Two families who had been living the exact same nightmare independently hundreds of miles apart were suddenly looking at the same photograph and seeing their missing children side by side. In 1990, searchers found Michael Henley's remains in the mountains near where he disappeared. The medical examiner determined he had died of exposure and that his death had occurred well before the Polaroid could have possibly been taken. If Michael Henley was dead months before that film even existed, he could not have been the boy in the photograph, which meant the resemblance everyone had been certain of was most likely a devastating coincidence. Two grieving families staring at the same haunted image, both convinced they were looking at their child. The experts couldn't even agree on the girl. Scientists at Los Alamos National Laboratory who examined the photo said they didn't believe it was Tara. The FBI ran its own analysis and came back inconclusive, but investigators at Scotland Yard, consulted for a second opinion, concluded independently that the young woman in the photograph was, in fact, Tara Calico. Three respected institutions, three different answers. To this day, no one has definitively proven the girl in that Polaroid is or isn't her. Two more Polaroids would surface in later years, one found near a construction site in Montecito, California, showing a blurry close-up of a girl's face with tape across her mouth against the same light blue striped fabric as the van photo. Investigators eventually ruled both of these newer images out as unrelated to Tara's case, but for a while, each one reopened the same unbearable question. Was she still out there, being moved, being photographed, waiting for someone to recognize her again? The man with the mustache in the white Toyota van was never identified. Police in Port St. Joe set up roadblocks in the surrounding area within hours of learning about the photo. It didn't matter. He was already gone, and no name, no plate number, no clear face ever surfaced to attach to him. Investigators have chased dozens of theories in the years since. In 2008, the sheriff of Valencia County said he'd received information suggesting two local teenagers had accidentally struck Tara with a truck on that stretch of road, panicked and covered up her death rather than call for help, that he knew who was involved but couldn't build a case without a body. Nothing ever came of it publicly. A cold case task force reopened the file in 2013. The FBI eventually offered a $20,000 reward for information. In 2023, the Valencia County Sheriff's Office reportedly submitted a large case file to the district attorney, hinting at potential charges against long-standing local suspects. As of now, no one has ever been arrested. Tara's parents eventually left New Mexico. They moved across the country to Florida in 2003, closer, geographically, to the parking lot where that photograph turned up all those years ago. Though nothing ever came of the move, except the same silence they'd been living inside since 1988. Tara Calico has now been missing for well over 3 decades. No bike was ever found. No body was ever found. The only physical trace anyone has ever produced is a single photograph that shouldn't have existed yet, showing a girl who might be her, gagged and bound in the dark, staring at a camera held by a man whose face nobody has ever put a name to.